My name's Leticia Brown. I'm 32. And the day I got promoted, my own mother told me not to make it a big deal. Let me back up. I've been a nurse for 9 years. 9 years of double shifts, holidays in the ER instead of at home, covering for people who called out sick so patients wouldn't go short-staffed. Last month, my hospital finally made it official. Nurse supervisor. Not some Hollywood promotion, no stock options, no corner office, just a modest raise, a badge with a new title on it, and a small recognition ceremony in the hospital's community room. Folding chairs, a sheet cake, my director talking into a microphone that kept cutting out. But it was mine. I earned every bit of it. 2 weeks before the ceremony, I texted the family group chat. Got the promotion, ceremony's on the 14th. Starts at 6, would mean everything if y'all came. My little sister Megan sent a fire emoji, my dad, Arthur, sent a thumbs up, my mom, Catherine, took 3 days to answer. When she finally did, it wasn't what I was hoping for. It's just a promotion, Leticia. Don't make it a whole big thing. We already booked a cruise with Megan that week. Just a promotion. 9 years of 12-hour shifts. 9 years of missing Thanksgivings because somebody had to be on the floor. 9 years of coming home smelling like a hospital and crying in my car before I even made it inside my apartment. And to her, it was small enough to skip for a boat ride with my sister. I stared at that text a long time. Then I did what I always do. I made excuses for her. Maybe she didn't mean it like that. Maybe money's tight and the cruise was already paid for. I've been doing that my whole life, handing my family softer reasons than the truth, because the truth was too heavy to carry around every day. I've paid mom and dad's light bill when things got tight 2 winters running. I co-signed Megan's apartment lease when her credit wasn't good enough on her own. I've covered her overdraft fees more times than I can count. I told myself that's just what you do for family. I told myself one day they'd see everything I'd given up. One day they'd show up for me the way I always showed up for them. The night of the ceremony, I stood in that community room in my one good blazer and watched everybody else's family walk in. Husbands, kids in their Sunday clothes. My coworker Jude Anderson's whole family took up a whole row, somebody's kid holding a homemade congrats sign made out of poster board and glitter glue. I had 3 folding chairs with my last name on a sticky note taped to the back. Nobody sat in them. My director called my name. I walked up, shook a few hands, smiled for somebody's phone camera, said thank you into that busted mic, and the entire time, past the flash of the camera, all I could see were 3 empty chairs sitting there like a question I didn't have an answer for. I didn't cry, didn't really feel much of anything, just numb, like some part of me already knew they weren't showing up, and I'd just been waiting for the rest of me to catch up. I went home, ordered food I barely tasted, sat on my couch with the TV on low and didn't touch my phone all night, didn't want to see it, didn't want to give anybody the satisfaction of me checking. Around midnight, I finally picked it up. 41 missed calls. 41. Mom, Dad, and Megan back to back to back like they were taking turns. Right at the top, 1 text, sent at 11:04 p.m. We need to talk. Old me would have called back immediately, would have apologized for missing them, asked if everybody was okay, dropped everything I was doing. New me just looked at those 3 words for a long minute. We need to talk. About what? About how you called my promotion not a big deal and then booked a cruise instead of showing up? About how you let me find out where I stood from a text message? I put the phone face down on the coffee table and went to bed. I didn't know it yet, but that one small thing, not calling back, was about to blow my whole family wide open. Because the next morning, my dad was going to say something on the phone that stopped me cold. Something about my new paycheck, a number he had no business knowing. And that's when I started finding out exactly how far my own family was willing to go to get a piece of something I'd worked 9 years to build. If you want to see what happens when Leticia finds out her dad already knows her exact salary, drop a comment, hit follow. The morning after the ceremony, my phone started buzzing at 7 a.m. sharp, like somebody set an alarm to drag me back into it. Mom, Dad, Megan, cycling through one after another. I let it ring out. By 9, the missed call list was so long I had to scroll. By lunch, my email joined in too. Subject lines stacked up like little warnings. Call us, this isn't funny, don't ignore your family. I pictured them all on that cruise ship, passing a phone around some lounge with watered-down drinks, taking turns hitting redial. Not because they missed me, because I wasn't answering, and that scared them more than anything. Wednesday night, I was rinsing dishes when Dad's name lit up the screen. I almost let it go. Something in me wanted to hear what he'd say when he thought he finally had me. I answered. He didn't say hello. Leticia, listen, we didn't know it was that big of a deal to you. Your mom already had the cruise booked, and Megan really wanted to go. We figured you'd understand. I didn't say anything. Family's family, he kept going. Let's put this behind us. You've always been the responsible one. That's not something to throw away over one night. One night. Like it was one night. Like it wasn't 9 years of me holding this family together while nobody bothered showing up for me. Not once. I didn't yell, didn't explain myself, just moved the phone away from my ear and hung up. No goodbye. Clean and flat. 10 minutes later, my grandfather called. Leonidas doesn't ask for things. He doesn't hint, doesn't guilt. If he needs something, he just says it plain. So when I saw his name, I actually picked up. Heard about the promotion, he said, voice rough but steady. Congratulations. My throat tightened. Thanks, Grandpa. He paused. Heard your mother and Megan skipped it too. Of course he'd heard. Of course Mom had called him crying about how cold I'd gotten. What do you think? I asked him. He let out a tired little laugh. I think they're not upset about missing your ceremony. They're upset because they missed their last shot at reminding you that you belong to them. That sentence sat in my chest like a rock. He said, they see it now. You got something they can't touch, a title, your own money. And people like your mother, when they get scared of losing control, they don't back off. They grab tighter. I didn't say anything back, but something clicked into place, like he'd handed me the word for a feeling I didn't have language for yet. By Friday, their whole approach flipped. The angry voicemails turned into sugar. So proud of you, knew you'd make it, wish we couldn't have been there. Mom sent a blurry beach photo captioned, thinking of you. Megan posted a drink with a little umbrella in it and tagged me. Congrats, sis, drinks on you when we're back, right? It was almost funny how obvious it was. They weren't reaching out because they felt bad. They were warming up, getting ready for whatever the real ask was going to be once they got off that boat. 2 days after they landed, Dad called again. This time, his voice was easy, casual. Asked about work, my new title, how the floor was running. Then, right on cue, he pivoted. Listen, we're a little behind on some bills this month. Nothing crazy. I figured with your new numbers and all, it wouldn't be a big deal for you to help out. My new numbers. I froze with the phone against my ear. I hadn't told them my new salary, hadn't told anybody outside of HR and my direct supervisor. That's not information that just floats around. Who told you my numbers? I asked flat. A pause, just long enough for me to hear it. Your mother talked to somebody who works in payroll over there. We're family, Leticia. We don't need secrets. My skin went cold, because that's not how hospital payroll works. Nobody just talks and finds out somebody's exact new salary. That takes somebody actually pulling a file, actually looking something up they had no business looking up. And the way he said it, we don't need secrets between us, didn't sound like reassurance. It sounded like a warning. I told myself I was overthinking it. Told myself maybe Dad guessed, maybe Mom exaggerated something she overheard secondhand, but the feeling didn't leave. It sat under my skin like a splinter I couldn't dig out. That night, I sat at my kitchen table with a plate of food I didn't touch, phone face down next to me. For the first time, it didn't feel like a phone. It felt like a door somebody kept trying to force open. Around 10, my laptop pinged. New email. from an address I didn't recognize, just a random string of letters and numbers, the kind of thing you'd normally send straight to spam. Something made me open it anyway. Subject line, "They're digging into your money." No greeting, no name, just one line in the body. "Your mother's been asking questions at your job about your pay. You should find out why." I sat back in my chair, heart thudding. If this was a scam, they'd have asked me for something, money, a password, a click. This wanted nothing. It just wanted me to know. I closed the laptop, sat in the dark kitchen a long minute. Did she really call my job? Did she really go looking for my salary? 2 days later, Friday evening, I was clocking out when I heard my name behind me in the hallway. I turned around. It was Jude Anderson from payroll. Quiet guy, the type who does his job and goes straight home, never mixed up in anybody's business. Tonight, he didn't walk past me. "You got my email?" he asked, low, glancing down the hall to make sure nobody else was around. It took me a second, then it clicked. "You did that?" He nodded. "Payroll flagged a call last week. A woman called in, said she was your mother, said she was helping you file your taxes, needed your income breakdown. When the rep told her that information doesn't get released over the phone, she got pushy, started asking for numbers, for your raise amount, for what your new title paid compared to your old one. It got escalated to my desk." My stomach dropped straight through the floor. "Why tell me like that, anonymously?" I asked. He gave a short, humorless laugh, because if it came from me directly, I'd be the one stuck in the middle of a family situation. I've seen how that goes. He paused. "I've been doing this a long time. When somebody's family finds out they're making real money, even just decent money, people start circling, and once they start, they don't stop till there's nothing left." I didn't say anything. I just stood there in that empty hallway, my bag heavy on my shoulder, everything rearranging itself in my head at once. It wasn't paranoia. It wasn't me making something out of nothing. My mother had called my job, pretending to be helping me, trying to pull my salary out of a payroll rep who wasn't supposed to give it to her in the first place. That wasn't concern. That was a plan. "Be careful," Jude said, and walked off before I could ask him anything else. I drove home, gripping the wheels so hard my knuckles went white. I kept thinking the worst they could do was guilt-trip me, maybe drain me a little financially, the way they always had. But this was different. This was them going around me, behind my back, trying to get information I never offered. If they were already willing to lie to get details about my paycheck, what else were they willing to do to get their hands on it? I found out faster than I expected. Saturday morning, I was still in pajamas, coffee half made, when somebody knocked on my door, hard, fast, urgent. I opened it, and there they were, Mom and Dad, standing on my porch. They had never once shown up unannounced in my life. Mom pushed past me into my apartment before I could even say good morning, that same bright, fake smile stretched across her face. "We've been talking," she said, setting her purse down on my counter like she lived there. "Your father and I want to start something, a little business, maybe a food truck, maybe a rental property, something for the family." My stomach turned. "And since you're finally doing so well," she went on, "we figured you'd want to be a part of it." Dad nodded along like this was the most normal request in the world. "It's a win-win, Leticia. You'd benefit just as much as we would. It's time you gave back. We've always supported you." Supported me. He said it with a straight face, like 9 years of me carrying this family had somehow been the other way wound. I stood there staring at both of them in my own living room, and for the first time in my life, I didn't feel the urge to make it easier for them. "I've got a busy weekend," I said quietly. "You need to leave." Mom's face dropped. "Leticia, don't be like that." I opened the door wider and didn't say another word. They stood there a second like they were waiting for the old version of me to show up and apologize. She never came.
When they finally walked off my porch, I stood in my living room, heart hammering, and one thought crystallized clear as day. They weren't just asking for money anymore. They were planning around my life like it already belonged to them.
After that doorstep ambush, something in me locked into place. For years, I'd been the cushion under every one of my family's falls, smoothing over Megan's messes, covering mom and dad's bills, telling myself that's just what a good daughter does. But standing in my own living room, listening to them talk about giving back like I owed them a debt I never signed up for, something in me went cold and clear. They weren't asking for help anymore. They were dividing up something that wasn't theirs. So I stopped explaining myself. People like my parents don't hear apologies or arguments. They hear access. The second you stop being useful to them, everything about how they treat you changes. So I started cutting the lines quietly, one at a time. First was the credit card I'd opened in my name for Megan when she was 20, supposed to be for textbooks and gas, turned into her personal safety net for concert tickets and late rent. I paid off the balance one last time, closed the account, deleted it from my banking app. Done. One less pipeline into my life. Then the light bill I'd had on autopay under my card for 2 years because Mom gets stressed over shutoff notices. I logged in, pulled my card off, let the responsibility land back where it belonged. Megan texted twice that week. "Rent's late again, can you help? My check didn't clear yet, can you spot me?" I didn't answer either one. Not with a no, not with an excuse. Just silence. It was strange how good that silence felt. Like a muscle that had been clenched for years finally letting go. I figured there'd be an explosion. Instead, it came sideways. My Aunt Natalie called first, a voice sweet enough to give you a toothache. "Just checking in, sweetheart. Family's so important. Your parents have sacrificed so much for you." I nearly laughed out loud. Then she slipped it in. "Your mom mentioned you're doing really well now financially, said you're finally in a position to help everybody out." Finally, like the years I spent keeping their lights on before I had any real money didn't count for anything. Then a message from my cousin Lawson. "Congrats on the promotion. Hey, I got this business idea, we should talk." Then my Uncle Freddie. "Proud of you, we should talk investment." They weren't just circling anymore, they were organizing. Then Grandpa Leonidas called. He sounded tired in a way I hadn't heard before. "Your mother's been talking," he said, "telling people you're about to buy them a house." My stomach dropped. A house? "She's telling half the family it's time this family expands, that you're finally stepping up." He sighed. "Most of them already believe it." The audacity of it took my breath away. They weren't waiting for me to offer anything. They'd already spent money I hadn't given them in front of people I hadn't even talked to. "This won't stop," Grandpa said quietly. "Not unless you stop it." Then he told me there was a family cookout that Saturday at Uncle Freddie's place. He said, "You should come, hear what they've been saying with your own 2 ears." He wasn't asking, he was giving me an opening. So I went. Walking into that backyard felt less like a family gathering and more like walking into a room full of people bidding on something that wasn't for sale. Every head turned, every smile stretched a little too wide, every hug came with a question underneath it. "What can you do for me now?" Mom spotted me first, pulled me toward a cluster of relatives by the grill. "Everybody's just been saying how proud we are," she said loud enough for the whole yard to hear. "And once things settle, we're thinking about upgrading, something the whole family can enjoy. Isn't that exciting?" She said it like it was already decided, like the down payment already had my name on it. My Uncle Freddie clapped me on the back. "Family first, right? You're doing good now. You're in a position to take care of everybody." Lawson slid up next to me with his phone already out. "So, about that business idea?" My plate suddenly felt like it weighed 20 pounds. I looked around at all of them, smiling, waiting, circling like they were being polite about it.
Then I found Grandpa's eyes across the yard. He was sitting in a lawn chair off to the side, not stepping in, not rescuing me, just watching, giving me that same small nod he gave me on the phone. Permission, again, this time to say it out loud. So I did. "I'm not buying anybody a house," I said, loud, clear. The whole backyard went dead quiet. "I'm not paying anybody's bills anymore. I'm not funding anybody's business. I'm not fixing anybody's mistakes." I looked straight at my mother. "I'm done being the family ATM." Mom's smile fell off her face like somebody cut a string. Dad got stiff. A couple of cousins actually took a step back like the words might be contagious. And then Grandpa stood up. And when Leonidas Brown stands up and opens his mouth, the whole yard listens.
Nobody moved, nobody breathed. Grandpa stood up slow, like his knees ached, but his voice didn't shake at all. "Ungrateful," he said, looking straight at Mom and Dad. "If anybody in this family's got the right to use that word, it's Leticia." Mom opened her mouth. He didn't let her get a word out. "She's the one who paid your bills, kept your lights on, bailed Megan out more times than I can count. And the second she builds something for herself, y'all show up trying to spend it before she's even got it in the bank." He shook his head. "That's not family, that's leeching." Dad's jaw locked tight. Mom's face went white, then red. "Dad, you can't just—" she started. "Don't expect a dime from me either," Grandpa said, cutting her off clean. "Not you, not your husband. Leticia's the only one in this family who understands what it means to earn something and respect it. When I'm gone, what I've got goes to her, not you." The whole backyard just stood there. Somebody's paper plate hit the grass. Nobody picked it up. I didn't stick around for the aftermath. I said a quiet thank you to Grandpa, slipped out through the side gate, and drove home with the windows down, cool air on my face the whole way. For the first time in longer than I could remember, my chest didn't feel tight. The next 4 days were exactly what I expected, loud, messy, and somehow they barely touched me. Mom's texts came in waves, 1 o'clock, 3, 5 in the morning, like she couldn't decide if she was furious or heartbroken. "How could you embarrass us like that?" Then 20 minutes later, "We're so proud of you, let's just move past this." Emotional whiplash, same as always. I stopped reading past the first line. Dad only called once, didn't bring up the cookout, didn't bring up Grandpa, just said flat, "Things are tight this month. Can you help with the mortgage?" I hung up before he finished the sentence. Megan sent voice notes, 4 of them, each one worse than the last. Started with guilt, moved to insults, ended with, "You think you're better than us 'cause you got money now?" And right after all that, in the same breath, "I still need help with my car payment, Leticia. I can't get to work without it." She wasn't asking, she was demanding, like my paycheck was still hers to reach into whenever she wanted. I didn't answer. The silence I gave her said more than anything I could have typed. But it wasn't all backlash. My cousin Daphne messaged me privately, said she never realized how much I'd been carrying by myself all these years. My cousin Estelle apologized for believing whatever version of the story Mom had been feeding people. Even Aunt Nathalie sent something short, no sugar in it this time. "You didn't deserve what they did to you. I'm sorry." It wasn't an apology that fixed anything, but it was honest, and honest was more than I'd gotten from my own parents in a long time. Grandpa called that night, didn't ask how I was feeling, didn't try to unpack any of it. "Proud of you," he said. "About time you stopped playing their game. Go live your life now." That was it. Simple, true, exactly what I needed to hear. The strangest part of those 4 days wasn't the fallout, it was the quiet after. My phone, which used to be a source of constant dread, turned into something peaceful. Calls slowed down, the group chat went dead, and for the first time in years, seeing a notification pop up didn't put a knot in my stomach. I started sleeping through the night, stopped checking my bank app first thing every morning out of habit, bracing for some emergency that wasn't mine to fix. I went grocery shopping without doing math in my head about who I'd have to send money to that week. I read an entire book, start to finish, for the first time in over a year. I used to think silence meant something was missing. Turns out silence was just freedom finally showing up. A week after the cookout, I was on my couch with takeout, TV humming low, feeling something close to calm. My phone buzzed once. Old instinct made my chest tighten for a half second. It was Grandpa. Just checking in, hope your week was peaceful. I smiled, actually smiled, and wrote back, it was, because it was true. That quiet wasn't empty, wasn't cold. It was mine. I didn't lose a family that week at that cookout. I lost the idea of one, the version I'd been holding on to since I was a kid, hoping one day they'd show up for me the way I always showed up for them. In its place, I got something better. My life back, my boundaries intact, and a future that finally wasn't mortgaged out to people who were never planning to pay me back. I didn't need a big reconciliation. I didn't need them to say sorry. I didn't need them to understand what they did. I just needed my own front row seat back in my own life. And for the first time in 9 years, I finally had it.